This is your Monday Daily Delivery. I am Michael Rand. So much to get to today. Patrick Reusse joins me in a little bit to talk about the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments. I'll have Randy Johnson on a little bit after that to talk about the Gophers getting a number one seed in the NCAA men's hockey tournament, while all 5 Minnesota teams make the field of 16 in that tournament. But first, what did I miss? Right now, I want to talk about a couple things that I don't talk about enough on this show. First off, soccer, specifically Olympic qualifying. Men's team, if you follow this at all, you know 2016 was frankly an embarrassment. They don't make it to the Olympics in 2016. This is the under-23 version of the team. That's how the Olympic qualifying and Olympics go. So it's not the full team, but still, you think that the United States should be able to qualify for the Olympics, especially in a major sport like soccer. They don't make it in 2016. So this year, they're in qualifying. They win their first match. They get to the second match 0-0 on Sunday night at the break against the Dominican. Hassani Dotson, Loon's own Hassani Dotson, Minnesota United's Hassani Dotson, comes on as a substitute, scores 2 goals in the second half to give in the U.S. a 4-0 win. They advance to the next stage. They still have to play Mexico on Wednesday. We'll see who wins that group stage, and that'll determine who their matchup is next Sunday in the next kind of in the qualifying match on Sunday. So we'll see how that goes. But Hassani Dotson, huge game, jumping in. First goal, by the way, scored by Jackson Ewell, who is a Bloomington, Minnesota native. So Minnesota footprints, fingerprints all over this match and this very important win for U.S. soccer. Second thing I want to mention quickly, Gophers women's gymnastics win the Big Ten championship for the first time since 2006. The Big Ten meet at the Maturi Pavilion, by the way, on over the weekend. Lexi Ramler named Conference Gymnast of the Year, 3rd consecutive season, and she and teammate Ona Loper finished 1-2 in the all-around in that event. So congratulations to the Gophers on that. Anytime you win something for the first time in 15 years, that is a major accomplishment, and to be able to do it in Minnesota is it's pretty cool. I'm sure like any sport, it has not been easy to conduct a season in the midst of the pandemic, but to cap it off with a Big Ten championship has to make it all the more special.
I'm Nyla Jean Myers, Senior Assistant Sports Editor at the Star Tribune. Thank you for listening to Strip Sports Daily Delivery. This work is made possible by our Star Tribune subscribers. For unlimited access to the articles mentioned in this podcast and our coverage of Minnesota sports from pros to preps, go to startribune.com/subscribe.
All right, it's Monday. Patrick Reusse joins Daily Delivery, talk a little college basketball, both men's and women's, and a little Twins as well. Let's start at the top with the men's tournament, Patrick, because we're not only watching for, our own college basketball enjoyment and interest, a lot of upsets, but also as we watch this tournament, we're seeing a lot of potential Gophers coaches in action, and then going by the wayside, which should kickstart the search a little bit more. What Porter Moser might be coaching himself out of the job, not because of poor performance, because he's too good.
I have to think that he is on the Indiana radar right now, pretty strong. Chicago and Indiana pretty close together, and what they did to Illinois defensively was extremely impressive. And people say Marquette, but I don't think the Gophers are going to lose a coach to Marquette, but they lose players to Marquette, but they wouldn't lose a coach to Marquette, I don't think. But if Indiana gets in the hunt for Porter Moser, then the Gophers are probably going to be out of it. If Indiana is willing to pay a $10.3 million buyout, they're willing to pay more than the Gophers are for Porter Moser, plus they have the tradition. So I would guess that would knock him out of the contention. But you look at it, who do they have? They have a pretty easy game in the next round here. He could be back in a Final Four again.
I know. Yeah,
unbelievable.
I can't remember who they play in the Sweet 16. It's escaping me at the moment. But yeah, the big one obviously is just when you win that 8-1 game, or we knock off the number 1 seed in the in the second round, then your third round game naturally is going to be not easy, but it's going to be what the winner usually of that 4 or 5 game. And that's not so bad, right?
Yeah, but I think in general, my perception of this college basketball season was teams aren't very good. Everybody
Yeah.
was raving. Everybody was raving about the Big Ten, and I thought Michigan was pretty good. And then there's a Levers. He got hurt, so that takes a lot away from them. And then Illinois, I did like Illinois a lot, but the rest of them didn't do anything for me. I mean, I didn't. I thought underachieved. Wisconsin, how they got up, beat North Carolina by 25, the way they played down the stretch, it shocked me. But I don't think it's very good. I think we're seeing the future of college basketball with all the other options these kids are getting now, and the G League and the crazy transferring all over the place. Now, maybe we're going to end up in the transfer era where you get a free transfer, that we end up with the NBA, that the 3 or 4 of these kids say, let's go here and win the championship, right? I mean, but are we going to have those mysterious basketball agents putting all-star teams together? Is that going to happen? I don't know. I think basketball in general is so screwed up. Anything is possible. But now I liked that Arkansas game last night because that was a grinder. That was a battle. It was an old-fashioned, but teams going up and down the court, but knocking each other around. I like that game, and I kind of like the Syracuse game because that was a grinder too. And you got crazy old Huggy and Boeheim going against each other. But I like those games because there was some physicalness to them, and they were banging each other, and they had some good players, and it wasn't all a bunch of jerk shooting threes, And I like those games, but the quality of basketball does nothing for me. I think college basketball is hurting, and the big reason is they let 350 teams in. We don't need 350 teams. 200. You got schools that should not, that belong in the Northern Sun at best, and they're all, the Northern Sun could just declare itself a Division I conference to get the basketball tournament, and the quality of play wouldn't be any different than a lot of these leagues that are alleged Division Ones. I think college basketball used to be right up there the favorite events I covered, and I'm not as excited about college basketball as I used to be. That's for sure.
Maybe they should go the college football route and split into like a bowl subdivision and a championship subdivision. Let's have two Division I tournaments.
We talk about, of course, what the men's basketball has going for it are the upsets, and we had a lot of them this weekend, obviously. Although when you watch these teams play, they don't look like that big of upsets, right? I mean,
do you watch Abilene Christian in Texas? That game was terrible. That game was terrible. Texas turned the ball over like 40% of the time.
Well, what was the one game that I was watching? I was watching St. Bonaventure. I was watching them because there's this guy who's no longer with us, but a legendary guy from Austin, Albert Lee area, Ori Girelli. And Ori went out there and played with St. Bonaventure in the late 50s and was like a legendary player. And then he came back here and was a high school coach and the greatest guy ever. So I said on Twitter, I'm all in on the Bonnies. Let's go Bonnies. I turned it on. It was 4-2 at the second timeout. It was 4-2. And I said, well, the hell with the Bonnies. I'm not watching them anymore. I don't have to watch this. I could watch 6th grade, 4th grade basketball and see better than this. But, the upsets certainly do give us something to talk about the first and second day. Big Ten, though, wow.
Yeah.
They're no cinch. They have 6 teams done. They got 3 left on Monday. They better get a couple in the Sweet 16, or this is going to be remembered as the Big Ten's never been deeper, blah blah blah. It's going to be remembered as a complete fraud if they fall. If the guys today fall under Maryland, Michigan, and Iowa. if 2 out of those 3 fall on their face and you ended up with 1 in the Sweet 16, we'll look back at the Big Ten as a bunch of frauds this year.
Making the Patino fade look even worse. You got any?
Yes.
You got any? What's your feeling on that search? I mean, we obviously about this time last week, things were percolating. They made the decision Monday night. Didn't figure it's going to happen right away because you got to watch a lot of these coaches. A lot of these coaches are still active coaching the tournament. A few of them are done now. Gates at Cleveland State, Dutcher, they went out right away. You get any sense for names, timeline, things like that?
I am told that Megan Ryan's piece on the lack of diversity, and not the lack of diversity, the basically nothing in the
absence of diversity,
absence of it, has gotten the attention of the University of Minnesota president, who has imposed herself into Mark, which in the past had been pretty much autonomy for Mark Coyle. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, obviously, diversity or not, if you have a chance to hire Porter Moser, you have to do it, right? I like Brian Dutcher a lot, but he's going to be 62. If you're trying to make this hire, you want somebody to be here for 7-8 years, right?
At least,
do a lot better than the last guy did in 8 years. And if Moser and Musselman would be my 2 leading contenders, but I don't think there's any way they can get Musselman. And because Arkansas will give him $3 million a year, these guys aren't going to do that. But after that, I don't see any of them as distinguished candidates who are, one guy separated from the other. Craig Smith, I hear good things about him as a guy, and he's probably a pretty good coach. But does he put anybody in the seats? Does he? I mean, I think the only 2 guys with sex appeal right now are Porter Moser and Eric Musselman.
Yeah.
Beyond that, this shouldn't all be based on diversity. But if it comes down to Craig Smith or Dennis Gates, I'm taking Dennis Gates. Yep. He's 41 years old, same age. Good background. He's got Leonard Hamilton. Craig Smith had Tim Miles. I would take Leonard Hamilton in that matchup.
Patrick, we got to talk about Paige Beckers in the women's tournament here too, because that not as many upsets in that tournament generally, no. But I don't know anybody who's going to beat UConn. And we talked about this before we started. The freshman from Hopkins, she might be the best player in all of women's college basketball right now, even as a freshman.
I only saw her once live, and then I saw her some on TV. I went out and saw her play Farmington last December, and she was like she had like 3 other D1 recruits with her, and she basically let them, set them up through assists and stuff. When she at least that night, and I think most of her games, it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to go get my 40. She was a great teammate. And you see that now, but she is better than I could have imagined her being. But she just said that was the 24 points is the most points for a freshman, or what was it?
In the tournament, maybe? Record. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, in the tournament. Some record, she said yesterday. But, she's probably going to be the player of the year. Not just freshman of the year, the player of the year. It's incredible the way people are talking about her. They were rated like 3rd or 4th when the year was started. They weren't like they're going to beat everybody, and now it looks like they're going to win it again. But congratulations to her.
Yeah,
I think the Star Tribune's going to have to get somebody down there in that Dallas-Fort Worth bubble to see Big Bukers win the title.
Yeah, she's something else.
Pretty good story. Yeah,
something else. And they got. Did you follow the weight room nonsense this weekend?
Yeah, I followed that.
NCAA tried to give the women's tournament basically a rack of weights. So what is the NCAA doing? What are they doing?
They basically had the hotel weight room that us guys use when we stay at a Red Robin Inn or something. Is incredible. I mean, there's obviously, and then the swag bags. Here's what you do. You you don't give everyone a swag bag. In the pandemic, with the limitations of it, you don't give anybody a swag bag, the men or the women. Come on. I don't know. The NCAA is becoming more and more irrelevant. And wait till we have open transfers. How they're going to have, they might as well go out of business, and you might as well just have, when guys just have a little table out in front of the arena where the guys get their cash.
Yeah, just a table
way back.
Just a table and a website. Just a table and a website. Here's where you transfer. Here's where you get your money.
Yeah, way back in the days of the great Granite City Classic, when I worked at the St. Cloud Times, and Red Severson was a great promoter, coach, and a great drinker at that time too, I might add. But he brought in Hiram Scott, which was one of these for-profit colleges that had sprung up from Nebraska, and the coach was Forty Anderson, who used to be at Michigan State, got fired there. He was coaching Hiram Scott. The last night they were playing, they were leaving for their spring break. For their Christmas break after that game, and 40 was out handing them all hundreds and stuff like that. That's what we need. Let's go back to that.
Love it.
Hiram Scott rules. Let's just pay him. Who cares? But I don't think we should pay him over the table. I like the
under the table. Yeah. Put it in a hat.
It creates more mystery.
Put it in a hat. Put it in a hat.
Wooger.
Yeah.
Wooger, the greatest guy ever. Wooger, I run into Wooger at a Metrodome Viking game, and he said, this guy, he's the guy that gave me the money for the hat. what other coach would introduce you to the guy who gave him money for the hat? I love Wooger. He was the greatest. Wooger was unbelievable. Anyway,
oh man.
My report on our Fighting Twinks is they got a few hits yesterday, but I think the roster is, if Alex Kirilloff doesn't open the season with them, ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to be because they're that concerned about service time. It's the fact that he's hitting 100. And meanwhile, Jake Cave's going to be on the team, and this Garlic guy hits a home run every time he at bats, and Rooker. And there's a very good chance they're going to open with a platoon in left field of Cave and either Garlic or Brent Rooker, mostly based on merit.
Well, I'm sure we'll unlock a little bit more. Next time we talk, it'll be right on the eve of the season. Good stuff, Patrick. Enjoy the rest of the time down in FLA. Enjoy the sunshine, and we'll catch you again next week. All right.
All right, hey, and congratulations to Brad Davison on his fine first-round game. Good Minnesota boy. Who we've all known, love, and appreciate. All right. See you,
Patrick. Thank you. Happy to be joined right now by Puck Drop editor Randy Johnson. Covers all things hockey for the Star Tribune. Big news Sunday night. Gophers get the number 1 seed heading out to Colorado, and all 5 Minnesota teams wind up in the NCAA field of 16 in the men's hockey tournament. Randy, let's just start right off the bat. First impressions of the bracket that was announced on Sunday night.
It was very, very interesting. I was a little surprised that the Boston College stayed the number 2 seed overall. Gophers were 3. Not a big deal there. And then Wisconsin getting the number 4 seed overall, the 4th number 1. That was a lot of people are a little surprised about that. I thought they had a good shot at it. I put that in my projections. I wasn't overly confident about that. I thought possibly UMass with winning the Hockey East tournament championship might snipe that spot and knock Wisconsin down to the top number 2 seed. But bracket turned out pretty good. It few little surprises. The one surprise it was a Saturday afternoon surprise when St. Lawrence knocks off Quinnipiac to win the ECAC tournament championship and get an auto bid. This is a 6-win team. Then turns out Saturday afternoon their coach tested positive for COVID-19, and so they're out of the tournament.
Unbelievable.
Freed up one spot, turned out to be Notre Dame.
End of the day, Gophers play Omaha on Saturday night. Other half of that bracket, the 2-3 seed is Quinnipiac, like you're saying, they got upset in their conference tournament, but they still get an at-large bid. And then Minnesota State, Mankato, with the number 2 seed, and that's if the seeds hold form, boy, Gophers, Minnesota State, not to get ahead of ourselves, because Omaha is a formidable NCHC team. We're going to see, how the Big Ten holds up against, that. But, if they manage to get that far, boy, that'd be a lot of fun with a Frozen Four berth on the line.
Oh, definitely there. Yeah, it's Mike Hastings has built a really nice program down there in Mankato. I mean, the only thing they're missing so far is just NCAA tournaments. Had the plug not been pulled last year, that was a team. They'd won 31 games. They looked like they could have done some serious damage in the NCAA tournament. I think had they won one game, they might have won 3 or 4.
So last time I talked to you for this podcast was maybe 3-4 weeks ago. Gophers had just gotten drilled by Wisconsin, including one game that was particularly lopsided. What has changed? What has steadied them in the meantime that got them back on this path? Because they were so good early in the season. Then they kind of hit that little lull, and now it feels like they're kind of regaining that momentum enough to get that number 1 seed at least.
Yeah, I think it was kind of a wake-up call there that weekend here at Mariucci against Wisconsin. They lost 4-1 in a tight game that got away a little bit to the end, and then they got drilled 8-1. I think just after that, they really refocused. They didn't end up winning the regular season. It came down to percentage points. Wisconsin won. That the Gophers needed to sweep, or at least get a win and a tie against Michigan. Then they got a split. But then they put it together in the tournament. They played very good hockey in that tournament. They got it through a couple games. They're down a goal to Michigan State, and they're down 2 to Michigan, came back and won, and then got the big lead against Wisconsin and held on against a likely Hobie Baker winner, Cole Caulfield. That's a dangerous team.
So if I'm going to ask you right now, if the Gophers, let's stop short of a national title right now, but if the Gophers are going to make the Frozen Four, what's their formula right now going against, what's going to be 2 good teams no matter what?
I think the main formula is for them. They like having the lead. They like getting that first goal. They can be a little bit of a team that relies on that puck possession, that type of thing. But now they've shown they can come back. They don't want to have to do that a whole lot. Their blue line's really outstanding. Several guys that can move the puck. Incredibly impressed with Brock Faber in the Big Ten tournament. He got ran into the boards, slid in the boards head first, and came back the next day and just played an outstanding game against Wisconsin. They're getting good goaltending and very good goaltending from Jack LaFontaine. It's the one thing that they could use a little bit is a little bit more of a scoring threat at times. They have their power play has been a little sporadic lately. They've been getting really good puck movement, but they haven't cashed in quite as much as you would expect them to. They're very good when they stay out of the penalty box, and they're one of the better teams at doing that. And you don't want to end up there with a team that has a really potent power play, like say Wisconsin did.
This isn't just Gophers, though. Like we said at the outset, 5 Minnesota teams. I mean, Bemidji State, St. Cloud State, Mankato, we already talked about them, and obviously Minnesota Duluth, all in this tournament for the first time. What do you think that means for just statewide hockey, and maybe give me a lay of the land for the rest of those teams and their chances of advancing?
I'll start with, first of all, it means, it's a nice feather in the cap for all these coaches and all the players that are on these teams from the state. It's just saying, hey, there's some good hockey played here. We all know that. But the fact that you get all 5 in and it's unprecedented here in the state. I saw Don Lucia at the WCHA tournament this weekend, the new CCHA commissioner, and he reminded me that, this probably wouldn't happen if they're all in the same conference and, they'd be beating up on each other. But it's just a really nice thing for the state, I think. As for the teams, St. Cloud State, they're kind of in a way a bit like the Gophers. They were really young last year, took some lumps early on, turned it on pretty good in the second half of the season. Season got shut down by COVID, and they kind of picked up where they left off and have been pretty strong this year. They've won 5 games against out of 7 against Duluth, so they've handled the rival pretty well, and they beat North Dakota once. They're they can give any team trouble. They get good goaltending from David Renack. Really good freshman in Viete Miettinen. They're a solid team all around.
Potentially have to go through both Boston schools, though, right, to get to the Frozen Four?
Yeah, that might not be the easiest thing in the world to do.
Yeah, and then in Duluth, I mean, so most of these Minnesota teams are reasonably spread out. Where did Duluth wind up?
In Fargo, they're
okay, that's right.
3 seed up there. They play Michigan.
Okay, and then North Dakota, obviously the number 1 seed out there. So that bracket is no picnic.
Yeah, not number 1 overall in the country. But Duluth, Michigan, I'm looking forward to that one. That's Michigan's got a bunch of freshmen. 3 of them are probably going to be top 10 NHL draft picks coming up. And then they've been growing as the season's gone on. They looked really good in the Big Ten tournament. It'd be interesting to see them in Duluth. This isn't quite the personnel that Duluth had last year with Hobie Baker, Scott Perunovich, and then their standout goalie and Hunter Shepard, but they're good. They're in that system that Scott Sandlin has them playing. They don't have any trouble getting in a tight game. They'll grind it down and they'll wear teams out.
And Bemidji State, they got in as a 4. They give them a chance in the first round, or is that going to be a tough uphill climb for them?
Well, it'll be a tough game, but this Dom Territory has taken Bemidji State to the Frozen Four before, so they're not a picnic. They've stood toe to toe with Minnesota State and Mankato. They've got a couple wins over them and a tie this year, where nobody else is really throwing anything like that against Mankato this year.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's fun to be talking hockey this time of year, especially we think about last year, everything getting shut down. We're kind of revving up right now, and hopefully going to have an all systems go kind of tournament, and we'll see where they get to. It's kind of a marker, I feel like, for the Gophers. We'll just kind of leave with this thought, after where they were to get back to a number 1 seed, obviously kind of shows you kind of what Bob Motzko is building here.
Yes, yeah, he's got it aimed the right way. That's definitely. And my thought this season that this is a team that they closed strong enough last year where they could make some noise this year. And I felt that they need to get in the tournament and they need to have a good showing there.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they do. Randy Johnson, good stuff. Follow his stuff, Puck Drop. And I'm sure there'll be tons of stuff in the next couple of weeks from Randy there. Randy, thanks a lot. Take care.
Thanks, Mike.
Let's finish with the cooler. There's 3 things I want you to pay attention to this week. Number 1, the Wild. I told you last week I was worried after they got smoked 5-1 by Colorado. I think that was a Thursday night game last week. Well, guess what? Came back and got beat even worse, 6-0 in the follow-up in Colorado. So that's a tough one. We got to see how they bounce back this week, where they are on the scale of contention or not contention. So I'll be curious to see what they do this week. Number 2, Timberwolves. Trade deadline is Thursday in the NBA. Will they make a move of any substance? The John Collins thing is still out there, but the Hawks have been on a roll. John Collins has been playing great. Do the Hawks really want to trade John Collins? Is that something that maybe happens more in the offseason? Is there anything the Wolves are going to do to their roster, or do they look at getting D'Angelo Russell back hopefully soon-ish, getting Malik Beasley back from suspension relatively soon as well? Do they see that as kind of the things they want to add to what they've got going in the second half of this season? Last thing, Vikings, are they going to make any more free agent moves? We had Ben Gessling on Friday's show saying watch out for maybe a Harrison Smith extension and maybe something with Daniil Hunter's contract as well to free up a little bit more money to maybe go get an offensive lineman. That'd be kind of crazy. Maybe go get 1 or 2 more players in this kind of first wave of free agency. Otherwise, it's going to have to be through the draft or waiting for some more cut downs, in June, July to add to what they've got going. So I'm watching for those things. Can the Wild bounce back? Will the Wolves make a move this week? And do the Vikings have some other salary restructures to do to make some more space to add some more pieces to the 2021 team? That'll do it for today. Phil Miller on tomorrow's show to talk Twins. Love having Phil talk about baseball. Haven't had him on the show yet, but the first of many appearances for him, I am sure. Plenty of other talk coming up this week as well. Thanks for joining me here on Daily Delivery. I am Michael Rand. Listen to us all week. Subscribe to StarTribune.com, and we will catch you on Tuesday.